It's a Teen Talks Kitten podcast where I embarrass myself. Hello, and welcome to episode number 122 of the Teen Talks Game podcast. My name is Ango, and I hope you guys are all doing very, very well. Of course, before we get started, you should follow, share, and like a Teen Talks Game podcast because that's what they told me to say, and I don't know if it actually works, but seems like the podcast is doing better these days. But follow, share, like. Anywho, when you're hearing this episode, actually, like as I'm recording right now, I am done with the school year. I know I'm done with the school year. I'm very happy that the school year is over, of course. But yeah, now it's summertime. Kind of the only thing unfortunate about summer, of course, is that there's no figure skating to watch, no new figure skating to watch. But of course, if you listen to my last episode about curing your figure skating summer depression, definitely go check that out if you want to find out how you can cure your depression from figure skating this summer and everything. But yeah, I'm really taking June for myself, really, before I get started with some summer homework and things like that, some summer courses I'm doing. But I think June is just about me. June is about me, and June is about rewatching a lot of the Olympics because I really want to watch the Olympics again. I was actually watching some of the men's skates earlier, the men's free skates, because I don't know, I just got bored. You just like keep on scrolling and the shop pops up, and you're just like, okay, let's do that. But I'm definitely gonna be doing a lot of that, a lot of that. Um, this summer is watching some figure skating, catching up on some things that I missed when I was really busy during those times. But yeah, let's head over to our program of the week because this program of the week is a really beautiful program and I love it a lot. Program of the week. Alright, so our program of the week this week is a beautiful program set to a beautiful piece of music. And honestly, I kind of picked it because of the music, because I think this music is so beautiful and the program goes so well with it. That piece of music is The Sheltering Sky by Ryuichi Sakamoto. Sheltering Sky, the theme from the movie, of course. And I don't know, but if you ask me what the sound of suffering sounds like, I would say it's this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful orchestral piece. It's a beautiful suffering if that makes sense. But this program is Daisuke Takahashi and his 2018 Japanese national short program back when he was making a little comeback for fun. Daisuke Takahashi skated to the Sheltering Sky by Ryuichi Sakamoto, and it's a stunner of a program. It's a beautiful program. He starts with this program throughout the whole performance, he's so in tune with the music. He's so in flow in the feeling of the music. In the beginning of it, slow, empty, just the piano. He's kind of skating around and around in a circle. Kind of arms are kind of inside of himself, not really open out to the audience. And then he kind of makes a bigger circle and starts going to his crossovers. He does a big loop around kind of the middle of the rink into a triple axel, a bit of a shaky triple axel, but he gets it done. Then immediately he doesn't just do jump and then jump and then jump. The crossovers between, the transitions in between the triple axel and the flip toe combination. It's beautiful. The arms are open. He's looking downwards. He's looking upwards. He's looking this way. He's looking that way. The triple flip, triple toe combination goes well as well. The spin, the very first spin is a camel spin, and I don't know, something about the spin is just so on point with the music. It feels like every time he's turning, you hear a new piercing note of this dramatic music, this very painful music, if you will, this suffering, this music that's full of suffering, into a more crossovers, triplets goes well, beautiful sit spin positions. But I think the point of this program, not the point, but the apex, the climax of this program has to be the step sequence. This is a beautiful step sequence. He starts a step sequence on one side of the rink. He opens up his arms really wide, kind of upwards, pointing towards the audience, almost like holding the audience in his hands. And it's very much a straight line sequence, I would say, here and here. And just every bit of it just goes so well with this music that is, again, so painful, tragic, and it really pulls you in, if you will. It really pulls you in. And I don't know, just something about that step sequence is a really magical step sequence. He does a few like couple like small jumps within it, and a beautiful, beautiful moment has to be this very simple but just so on the music, so appropriate to the music. This lunge on the music, it's a beautiful lunge. Just dragging his knee that is genuinely, it's practically touching the ice, but it's beautiful. Into the very last, and the very last spin is beautiful as well. But something about the tension in this program, something about the facial expression in this program, the pure elegance of it, but the treatment, if you will, the treatment of the music, the feeling of the music within every part of it, and just the flow of Daisuke Takahashi's skates, how his skating skills are just they're very nice, they're very smooth. The crossovers do not feel labored. They're not jump, jump, jump. They do have a lot of transitions. They have a lot of arm movements. There's a lot of attention to detail in terms of how the music is. And it's a beautiful program and a beautiful piece of music that, whenever I hear, I truly do think it's suffering, it's painful, but it's so, so piercing and beautiful. So yeah, go check it out. Daisuke Takahashi, 2018 Japanese National Shirt Program to the Sheltering Sky by Ryuichi Sakamoto. And let's head over to our main episode. That was your program of the week. Alrighty, so for our main episode this week, I mean, there's not really much of an episode to even talk about. Of course, the figure skating season, like I say, every week is completely over. So, like, what is there to really talk about? But it's kind of become a tradition, not a transition. It's kind of become a tradition. You kind of unintentionally, it's become a tradition to at the end of my school year to do kind of an episode that is very, very ranty, but an episode that is about figure skating, of course, but an episode that kind of combines what my thoughts on figure skating and my thoughts on my current life condition, my current life situation are kind of like how it kind of connects. And I kind of do this ranty episode a little bit because I'm very busy, of course, in the last week of school, lots of finals to study for, lots of different things to do. Honestly, this year I was really not that busy at all with finals. I really didn't have that many finals, and I definitely could have made a more fleshed out episode, a bigger video essay, or something interesting commentary on the figure skating season or the figure skating world or something. But I honestly got really lazy this week, and honestly, that's why. And why not continue this weird tradition that I've unintentionally made by doing this? But this is kind of a ranty episode that I do and I mean every single year. I do a very, very ranty episode about life and figure skating and everything in between, as it says. And it's literally the most ranty episode out of all episodes I rant in. And I know I rant a lot in a lot of these episodes of the Teen Talk Standing podcast, but this is the most ranty episode out of all the episodes I make every single year. Honestly, there's not been a lot of news recently in figure skating. I mean, there has been news for sure, but I'm trying to save up all the news, especially about retirements and splits and partnerships between pairs and ice dance and new partnerships in pairs and ice dance for a separate episode that might be next week, that might be a little later. It kind of just depends on where everything falls. But yeah, that's why this episode is kind of a weird in between episode. I know last week was a little bit more fun. This week is not maybe as fun. It's just a lot of ranting. But the main point of this episode is to discuss figure skating and to discuss life and how figure skating and life kind of go together. Because truly, figure skating is really a giant metaphor, I feel like, for life. And of course, you can learn a ton of things from figure skating that, I mean, you definitely could learn in other places. You could learn in other sports. You can learn in other facets of life, things that we do every single day. But somehow, figure skating, I feel like, teaches you so much about life, even if you're not on the ice, even if you're not the one skating at the Olympics and winning gold medals, even if you're not the one doing the crazy jumps or the crazy lifts or the crazy throws, you still can learn a lot just by being a viewer, just by watching this beautiful sport and learning from it. All right. Yeah. So yeah, figure skating is a big metaphor. I mean, there's so many like obvious metaphors. I feel like, oh, never give up, things like that. Never, settle for just something that's okay. Always strive for higher, things like that. I feel like there's a lot of basic metaphors for figure skating that you could really apply anywhere. And so I guess this episode is trying to justify the creation of this episode by being interesting and stuff. Anywho, recent thoughts on life and recent thoughts on figure skating. Sometimes recently, I just felt like I'm not really happy with the way the world works, if that makes sense, the way society works, especially just as a student, as someone who lives in the US. I'm not really happy with how the world expects you to function, I guess. Um, in the sense that I do feel like even society, I mean, it's such a big pressure just to study hard, get good grades, take these tests that prove that you're good at doing this, you're good at doing that, that prove you are a capable person, a capable citizen that can function in society. And it does feel like that same way for everyone in a sense where the pressure is really to, get those grades, go to college, get a good job, etc., contribute to society, have a good stable life. And I just feel like sometimes it's just work and work and work and work. And yeah, some of that work is certainly useful. I mean, like figure skating, you're not going to get anywhere if you don't do the basics. You're not going to get anywhere if you don't learn how to do crossovers or how to do, the basic choreographic elements, for example. But, even if in life you do the basics, you do the studying, you do the hard work, you do everything, I feel like there's just something so mundane about that, something so inhumane, not inhumane, something so unhuman. Is that not inhumane? Because that's like immoral, but something just so, I don't know, there's just no humanity in like doing work all the time and just doing work and work and work and work. It's just not satisfactory, I feel like. Um, compared to example, I don't know, other ways of lives. And I think there's so much to appreciate when people go out of their way to do things that are not the usual. They break the status quo. They don't follow the status quo. And instead of doing the same thing everyone else does, they find success in their own way. And so often I feel like society is very judgmental and they say, if you don't do this, this, and this, you're never going to succeed and things like that. And that's how it feels sometimes with figure skating. And figure skating itself is a very, very conservative sport. We all, know this in figure skating where, especially I feel like in the elite level, I do feel like there is a lot of pressure to I do feel like there is a lot of pressure to skate a certain way, do these jumps, do these choreographic elements. No one wants to see this type of program. Everyone wants to see this type of program, things like that. And figure skating has been a very conservative sport. Think about the 90s, for example. Everyone is skating to some piece of classical music. Everyone is wearing a very pretty dress or a very cool outfit. Everyone is trying to do the triple triples. Everyone's trying to do the triple axels. Everyone's trying to land a quad toe loop. Um, Things like that, does that make sense? Things like that, where it does feel like this is the only method of success, and this is how you're scored, and that's it. I mean, if you don't follow how you're scored, you're never gonna win, you're never gonna succeed in anything. But, fast forward to now in figure skating, not saying that now figure skating is like do whatever you want. Of course, there's very strict rules, and of course, we've heard things from skaters about how their coaching situation is like, or how their federation wants them to act, where they should do this type of program, they need to do this, it's contingent on this, support is contingent on this, this is the best thing for the skater, etc. Where the skater has some voice, some choice, but it does really feel like sometimes figures getting just like um sometimes figure skating, just like life, is kind of a product of society, and skaters themselves are subject to the people around them, maybe. And so I feel like there's so much appreciation for skaters who choose different pieces of music that they found themselves or that, their coach didn't select for them. And there's so much um, honor in that. There's so much respect for skaters who are breaking the status quo. Jason Brown, I feel like, is a really good example for this. I mean, Jason Brown is a great example for everything, honestly. But Jason Brown is a really great example of this. I love Jason Brown a lot. I swear, if he posts a retirement post soon, I'm gonna cry. But Jason Brown's always a great example for things because he's a skater who has made himself relevant, who has kept himself relevant even throughout the quad revolution, even if he was a junior back in like the early 2010s, and moving forward throughout the decade, and now in the mid 2020s, there's so much pressure, and I mean so much pressure to do a quad, so much pressure to get quad toes and quad salchows and lutzes and flips and loops and axles even. And um I guess Jason Brown, for a long time, Jason Brown definitely and certainly was trying to get those quads done, but I don't know, I guess I know he said, like, he's not very happy with how the sport is scored, not very happy with how, the scoring system works, and that's certainly the same thing as not being very happy with how the world works. How Why does everyone have to follow the exact same path? Why is this the only definition of success? And so Jason Brown, I feel like, he didn't attempt any quads, I think, after, like, 2021 Worlds or something, or, after 2021, at least at the Olympics, I remember 2022 Olympics, he didn't attempt any of the quads there. Um Kind of a great example. And then, throughout the last 4 years, he really has not attempted any quads or anything. And he's really built out his artistry. And, I feel like it's a great example of not being a rebel, but figuring out your own path. Like, don't do what other people say all the time. Don't go with exactly what the rest of the world wants if you're not happy with it, if it's not bringing you the success that you want. Define success in your own way. And that's really, I feel like, what Jason Brown has brought to the table in his career is showing people like, hey, there are other ways of succeeding, other ways of doing things right. And I think that's like a beautiful thing of, don't, maybe you're unhappy with how the world works. Don't sit there and be sad about it. Figure out your own path, create your own world, create your own rules for your own world. And by focusing on his artistry, his skating skills, interpretation, composition, picking the music that he likes, that he can really connect with, um, is a really great example of that, of rebelling in your own way and creating the world that you personally want. And yeah, that's, I guess, one example of something in figure skating that connects to life, I guess. I am actually like so parched, if that makes sense. Actually, so like, can my voice survive this? Like, actually, can my voice survive this? But anywho, I guess that's one lesson from figure skating. Awful cut, I know. But anyway, I had a conversation with a friend, I don't know, in March, maybe around the time of the World Figure Skating Championships, actually. And she asked me, like, hey, like, where do you see yourself in where do you see yourself in 2 years? I cannot talk. Where do you see yourself in 2 years? And I don't know, I guess she wanted an answer like I guess she was not wanted, I guess she was expecting an answer, something like, I see myself in college, I see myself having a great life, I see myself having good friends, things like that. But I don't know, I thought about it a bit before replying to her, and I ultimately said, in 2 years, I just hope that I'm at a place where I can give myself a lot of grace, if that makes sense. That I can give myself a lot of room to grow, that I can let myself change and decide things differently and decide that I don't want to do this or I do want to do that, things like that. Um, a space where I can be okay with making big changes in my life. And I truly do think that's the kind of same thing with figure skating, where some skaters don't necessarily have a 4 year plan. They don't have a plan. Yes, I'm going to go to the Olympics. Yes, I'm going to win, etc. Maybe they want those things, but maybe some skaters are really taking it season by season. Um, I feel like there are really a lot of countless examples. Recently, Matteo Rizzo from Italy, for example, I think as early as like 2024, everyone was sure. I think he even said himself that, yeah, after 2026 Winter Olympics, I am going to retire. That's the plan. I am done with my career after the Olympics, etc. And I guess something changed and something changed. And within those 2 years from 2024 to 2026, he changed his mind and he recently confirmed that yeah, he is going to continue skating and he's going to continue skating competitively and take it time, year by year, however he wants to feel. And so sometimes that question, where do you see yourself in 2 years, isn't maybe the best question to ask. But maybe it is a good question to ask, but maybe the real lesson behind that question is to really get us to think about like taking it slow instead of taking it with the big plan in mind. And I think that's a big approach to life that I don't know, my friend really wanted to hear that I was really comfortable in saying. And I mean, my friend that day, she was really sweet about it and everything. And she's like, good answer, stuff like that. But I think that's a good approach to life to have that figure skaters have is taking it season by season, not saying I am going to retire here or I am not going to retire there. But some skaters are just like, I want to take it season by season. I remember Carolina Costner, for example, for a long time. She skated until I think she was 31, I want to say. Carolina Costner, throughout her whole career, people were like, okay, like, when are you going to retire? Like, are you going to retire soon? Are you going to retire soon? Things like that. And her response was always the same. It was always about her cousin Isolde Kostner, the skier. Carolina Kostner often replied to that question, inspired by her cousin, saying, I think it was her cousin, or maybe her godmother, or something like that. A family member saying that she'll stop skating when she doesn't feel the spark anymore. She doesn't feel the fire for figure skating, the passion for the sport anymore. Not necessarily at a certain date, a certain time, a certain competition, or a place, or a certain moment in her career, but just whenever she just didn't want to anymore. And that's a great approach as well. Again, seeing yourself in the future as someone who has just a lot of grace. And I think that's the best thing about what I think that's the best direction I can move in as a person than that I've seen in figure skating is that I can just give myself a lot of grace. I just hope that in the future and even right now, I can give myself grace. Don't be so angry if I decide I don't like this path in life anymore, that I can change my path. And don't be upset at that. Just accept that it isn't exactly how you planned it originally, exactly how you wanted to think about things originally. Um, Alyssa Liu, I feel like is just the poster child for this kind of mindset recently, the poster child for this kind of I don't know, ambiance, this kind of vibe recently because she is someone who has spoken to the media so much and they really have appreciated the world has really appreciated Alyssa Liu and her attitude towards figure skating. I'm taking it again season by season, not saying that she is going to skate at the next Olympics, not saying that she is going to do this or she is going to do that, this piece of music or that jump. She's not going to do this. She's really figuring things out for herself. And, in her comeback, she has talked a lot about accepting what her relationship is to the sport, her relationship is to the sport, and then the rest of her life and how she feels is, the prime thing. How she feels about her own skating is the most important thing, and giving herself the grace to change her life and accept that she has a newfound love for skating again. But also, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Alyssa Liu, I guess, announced retirement soon, I guess, because if she wants to, she wants to. And that's the best thing I think somebody can have the ability to do is just don't really pay attention to other people. I guess that's really cliche. Don't really pay attention to other people. Don't pay attention when you make decisions for yourself on how you will feel, or not how you will feel, how other people will feel, or how other people will perceive you, but make decisions with yourself in mind, make decisions with yourself, and give yourself grace. So much grace. I'm trying to think of other examples, honestly, but I don't know. But it all goes back to my friend. It all goes back to that conversation we had during our English class about, where do you want to see yourself in 2 years? And some people, and I'm not saying that people who are ambitious with goals and plans are wrong at all. That's amazing for those people to have a big plan in mind, to have things in mind, goals in mind that they want to achieve by this date, by this time, at this place, etc. I myself am, one of those people, and so many figures here say, yes, I want to win Olympic gold. I will not retire until I win Olympic gold. I will be winning Olympic gold next time around. I will be winning this Grand Prix. I will be doing this. I will be doing that. I want to be the first to land this, etc. And those are that's such amazing people with so much confidence, and that's an amazing skill to have. But I think an equally important skill, along with a lot of self confidence, I mean, the equally important skill in these types of situations is to, when things don't go right, when things don't go exactly how you planned, when your mindset changes, when your goals change, is to give yourself grace. Maybe you didn't become the first person to land that jump, maybe you didn't win that competition. The thing is to give yourself a lot of grace. Amber Glenn, I think, is a great example of this now that I'm thinking about it. Amber Glenn, for a long time, of course, for the 2023-2024 season, I would say, was dealing with so much pressure being, the national champion in 2024. She was very much, a big name in figure skating, big name, one of the leading US women, etc. And the results just weren't showing even as she was expected, for example. She was expected to win this or win that or do this or do that. Um And, after that season, she went into sports psychology. She met with a psychologist, I believe. And the season after that, of course, the 2024-2025 season was the season where she was winning basically everything except Worlds that season. She won basically everything in front of her. I mean, it was a huge victory path, huge success for Amber Glenn. And I truly do think Amber maybe has. I think she said in interviews or something. I've watched so many, I think she said in interviews that part of it is imagining that she's already won. Um, Imagining that she can do it, but also, the willingness to move on, to give yourself grace and not to linger too long on the past, not to linger too long on what was good in the past or what was bad in the past. Because maybe if you linger on the things that are so good about the past, I mean, there's multiple examples everywhere in life, right? If you linger too much on your past successes, you're so focused on succeeding that when you fail, your world ends. It feels like your world ends. If you linger too much on past failures, then you linger too much on the past and how you failed, and maybe you're more likely to fail again because you don't have that self-belief that you will succeed in those cases. But Amber Glenn is one of those people who I feel like really did succeed in putting her past results behind her, and that's how she was able to succeed in that season, in the 2024-2025 season, which was a beautiful season if you're an Amber Glenn fan, and I'm an Amber Glenn fan. So I don't know. I hope she skipped another season, but unrelated to this episode. But yeah, that's a big thing, giving yourself grace. And I don't know, I'll never forget that conversation, I think, because it was a really important conversation in my life and hopefully in my friend's life as well. I don't know, one of my favorites. Big shout out to my friend. Um, yeah, okay, so that's one thing. That's another thing about figure skating. I think recently in figure skating, I realized that it's such a lonely sport. I remember Jason Brown said in an interview once that figure skating is a lonely sport. Figure skating is a very lonely sport. You think it isn't, right? If you're on Team USA, you got all your teammates on Team USA, you got your coaches and your support staff and your manager and the people who do media with you and, all these important people. And of course, those people, don't make you feel lonely and everything. But at the same time, it's an individual sport. I mean, if you're in pairs and ice dance, no. But in terms of single skiing, it's a lonely sport, being alone on this giant piece of frozen water and doing these jumps and doing these spins and just hoping for the best. Um, Right, it's a very lonely sport, and sometimes you wonder if, you are what it takes. For example, I feel like there's so many moments where you work in a team and then you gotta take a test. You gotta take a test and it's an individual test. You don't got the help with your team. You don't got the support of your team. Suddenly you're out there swimming in the ocean all alone and it's up to you to do good. It's up to you to survive. That's how figure skating feels sometimes. Sometimes it just feels so difficult. Not difficult, but it feels so um difficult. I don't know. It feels difficult to watch figure skating sometimes, knowing that someone's out there alone on the ice and they're skating and you gotta think, I don't know, what do they think about? What's their mindset going to this next jump or this next spin? But I'm sure part of it is like, wow, I'm like alone right now. Wow, like right now I'm not, surrounded by, everyone out there. I just have the crowd watching me, the whole world watching me. But it's a thing to learn, I do think, is to be, I don't know, give yourself grace in the sense that, yeah, when you're alone and you don't do so well, that's okay. When you're alone and you do great, good for you, and that's okay too. But yeah, figure skating feels like a lonely sport in that sense, where everything just feels super duper lonely sometimes. What else can I say about this topic of loneliness? Sometimes you need loneliness, maybe. Sometimes you need time by yourself to reflect. And I'm sure so many figure skaters spend time by themselves, spend time reflecting on their careers and their goals. Because sometimes when there's all this noise around you, sometimes when there's all these people talking to you about this is the best course of action for your career, the best course of action for your life, it gets so noisy and you don't remember what your own moral values are, what you really want out of things. Alyssa Lee, we'll go back to the example of Alyssa. Um, we'll go back to the example of Alyssa Liu because, of course, for a long time, the story goes that she was kind of listening to her father, who was very, very intent on making her a very successful figure skater and paying a ton of money and everything. She was listening to her father, she was listening to his decisions about who she could be coached by, about this decision, what music she should use, and she um was, kinda dissatisfied with that, and that's a part of the reason why she ended up retiring at the age of 16, of course. Um, what am I trying to get at with this example? What was I trying to make the point before? Genuinely, I don't know, but, I don't know, I feel like from that example, you kinda see, I don't know, the importance of breaking free, the importance of being lonely sometimes, and maybe her time away from figure skating kinda being, isolated, not isolated, being away from the sport. Her time being away from the sport, is a beautiful was a good time, and she could really reflect on her values and rediscover her love for figure skating, as the story goes, I guess. And that's a good lesson for all of us. I mean, she said using her shirt program from Leve to Promise that, sometimes taking time away from something makes you realize how much you actually love it. And maybe being lonely and not having all this noise of the crowd and the audience and coaches and federation staff and everything around you all the time telling you to do this, telling you not to do this, telling you this and this. It makes you forget what your real values are. But I think what Alyssa Liu's story is so important, and her message to the world is so important, is that just take a break, take some time out, and rediscover what you really really want from it. Do things that don't do things that are so unimportant, not unimportant. Don't do things that you don't necessarily want to do, especially if it is listening to other people for a bit. Focus on yourself, focus on your own values, and focus on what you really want to do, and that way being lonely could be a good thing. And I think that's something I'll definitely take into this next month of reflecting and refiguring out my life and trying to fix everything going on and everything. So yeah, loneliness is sometimes a good thing, even if figure skating itself is an isolating sport. But of course, a lot of that cannot be done without people around you. And when you succeed, you gotta remember the people around you. That's another thing maybe that I need to work on as a person. When you succeed, you need to remember the people around you too. Who got you there? Who helped you get there, right? Where would you be without certain people? Would you have achieved the same thing without the people around you? Who is someone really really good at this? Who's someone who's like really like not a hallmark, who's like a really great example of this? Chen Lu, if you remember 1988 Olympics, Chen Lu crying at the feet of her coaches when she skated her last time. She skated her last competitive skate ever in Nagano in 1998. She got on the ice and she like kneeled down. She bowed down to her coaches, kneeled down on the ground, started crying out of appreciation and admiration for them. That's a really powerful symbol of how we get to successful places. Chen Liu ended up winning the bronze that year at the 1998 Olympics, but you know, expressing the appreciation for coaches and the people who really get you there, and of course the audience as well. Where would you be without all these people watching you as well, and all of this around you? And it's a beautiful thing to realize that we are not isolated, if you will, that we have so much support around us. Or if we don't, there's been things, even bad people who have said things that discouraged us, that we wouldn't be where we are without them, because we took that discouragement and we became better as a person as a result. And I don't know, thank the haters as well, I guess. I don't know. I think, there's so many examples of that out there. Gracie Gold, I remember, got a lot of flack, got a lot of criticism throughout her career, but rediscovering her love for figure skating as well, and then that 2023 nationals, I won't forget for Gracie Gold. But she had so much support around her, new coaches, her boyfriend at the time, and things like that as well. So yeah, I thought there was a knock at the door, and that's why I cut, but I guess there was not. I don't know. I'm a little confused. But yeah, that's one thing. Another big lesson about figure skating is that other people are sometimes not right. Other people are sometimes not right. Truly, 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 truly. I mean, there are some coaching horror stories out there, and of course, there's so many horror stories in coaching where coach said do this. Coach said I need to land the quads, need to do this, need to do that. A skater recently, Mia Callan, who you might remember as the quad jumping junior who made a big splash at U.S. Senior Nationals and Women's, Mia Callan, she has been coming out about some of the things her coaches have done to her in the past and why she took a break from figure skating. I mean, there's some really serious stuff that I encourage you to look into if you're comfortable doing so, if you want to learn more about that. But in a gist, what she has been talking about is that other people, are sometimes are not in your favor. They don't have the best intentions for you. And I mean, it's just some really horrendous stuff that is really unfortunate to hear that happen to her. And I mean, there's so much criticism online as well. I mean, there's so many people out there, and I don't know, there's so many examples out there, I do think, of people on the internet fans, so called fans, I guess, who, you know, are just, spewing out comments out there. You need to do this for your career. You need to do this for your career. Make sure you do this for your career. Stuff like that, um, is not the most positive stuff in the first place. And it isn't always like factually correct. Not factually, it isn't always in the best intentions. I mean, I think so and so should consider doing this. And I mean, it's fine if it's like harmless. Like, so and so should switch coaches. I think so and so should get a program choreographed by so and so. That's fine, but there's some people out there who are really putting on some hate comments and really putting on, oh, I think so and so needs a complete career change. They need to do this. They need to start eating this. They need to do this, this, and this. And there's a lot of hate out there on the internet. And so other people are sometimes not right. Other people are sometimes the problem. And I think I really need to focus on that sometimes in my own life, in the sense that sometimes other people don't have the best intentions for me, and I'm just very much a blind follower of what other people want. I'm saying, oh, yeah, for sure, this person's right. I trust them. For sure, this person is an authority figure. They're right, etc. And something I've noticed in figure skating is that maybe the coach isn't always right. Maybe the fans are not always right, and what they want is not always exactly um what is right for you. And at the end of the day, you know yourself as a person, you know yourself as a person, you know yourself as who you are. um I feel like a great example maybe is Marina Gasu. 2014, if you know, you know. Marina Gasu, 2014 Olympics. She went to U.S. Nationals. She won the bronze at U.S. Nationals, and she expected to get on the Olympic team. They rejected her in favor of Ashley Wagner that year, and it was a devastating decision. It was a decision that had some like, oh, you're not good enough to go to the Olympics again. I'm sorry, kind of behind it, because her experience, her placements weren't good enough, supposedly, stuff like that. um, but Miranda Asu really didn't listen to that advice. I feel like she really just moved on with her life, and she became a really good skater. She went to Worlds the very next year. She went to no, the Worlds 2 years after that. She ended up on the 2018 Olympic team. She trained a triple axel for the 2018 Olympics. She ended up winning a medal in the team event at the Olympics, things like that, that really made her very much successful. And maybe she took some feedback from the Olympic team. I remember her saying that she accepted the decision that they had made to not give her an Olympic spot. But she also certainly didn't listen to all the haters online, or the haters in the federation that told her, this is not going to work. You should consider retiring, things like that. But she also didn't really listen to that, and she instead listened to herself. And because she listened to herself and understanding what she wanted out of figure skating, understanding that she wanted to do a triple axel, she wanted to be competitive. I think that's maybe what turned her career around. At least that's what I learned from her, is that, don't give up when other people tell you to give up, that you're not going to make the Olympics again, that you need to do this in your career. I mean, there's so many things in that are so important to learn. through that lesson, if you will. Okay, another thing, maybe the last thing here, I don't know, is to be self reliant, if that makes sense. To work hard on your own terms. I mean, gosh, there's so many people at school, so many people just in life, right? In general, in life, that expect other people to do things for them, and they're very reliant on other people. They're very reliant on their teachers doing things for them, very reliant on passing because their other classmates they can just copy off of them. I mean, I literally see it every day. It's awful. I see those things every day. What can you do is to become a better person, right? To become more self-reliant, to solve things on yourself, because at the end of the day, you can have the best, most expensive coaches in the world. You could get the best quality ice in the world. You could get the best the best I don't know, you could get the best quality skates in the world, but, if you don't rely on yourself and rely on your own hard work and your independence, you're not gonna succeed, unfortunately. That's the unfortunate thing, right? And what's another great example of this? What was I just thinking? Oh my gosh, you can never think about what you just thought, you know what I mean? Always an issue in life. Um, you gotta work hard, you gotta be self-reliant. Um Let me think. Yeah, you gotta be self-reliant. I guess that's the point I was trying to make. I swear I just thought about another point that I promptly forgot. But yeah, become self-reliant. Oh, that's what it was about nerves, right? You could have the best coaches in the world. You could have the best training facility in the world, the best ice in the world, the best skates in the world, best choreography, the best music, but figure skating is not a sport about being the best. It's about it's about being the best, but who is the best on the day of the competition? And this is the thing is that is so important to me. And, believing in myself is a huge issue that I have. But so many skaters, so many times where nerves pop in, where, things go wrong, where, even if they have the best skates before, even if they have the best coaches again, best training, best choreo, best music, best everything, maybe they don't necessarily find success because of the nerves that day, or they're just not in tune with themselves, not believing in themselves, and it's a hard thing to have. Again, I'll never probably know the pressure of the world watching you and everything, but part of it is maybe ignoring the pressure of other people and just focusing on the pressure you give yourself, not the pressure that other people give you, the pressure you give yourself, the pressure to do the best for yourself, be proud of what you can do, not have the world be proud of you, not have your coaches be proud of you, but to be proud of what you can do and what you can put on the ice. And I think that's a better mindset to have sometimes, is to be more in tune with what you can do that is the best, and not necessarily what other people deem the best, and focus on that instead. And I don't know, is that's my lessons in life, lessons in figure skating. Are there any other lessons that I can think of? But yeah, I don't know, I guess this episode's really cliche and cringy and not very interesting at all. But I love figure skating nonetheless, and that's the episode. um but yeah, I mean, figure skating itself is a beautiful sport, and I'm honestly always comparing life and figure skating together and seeing where they parallel, seeing where they contrast. What can I learn from figure skating? What can figure skating learn from life? And it's a beautiful sport, but there's all these beautiful lessons that we learn from it, of course, all these beautiful lessons that we learn from it. And yeah, I love that. I really do love that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed me ranting about figure skating and life, and lessons that you can learn from both, lessons how they intersect and everything, and all these stories of skaters, mostly from the US, Jason Brown and Amber Glenn and Alyssa Liu, and all these skaters that I talk about. Um, yeah, and at the end of the day, I love figure skating because, again, it's a beautiful sport. It's awesome. There's cool jumps, there's cool spins and everything, but I love it because it's a metaphor for life. It's a giant metaphor for life, and I wouldn't be the same person without figure skating and being a fan and being in these communities and everything. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that episode. Next week, I hopefully will talk about Grand Prix assignments if they come out soon. If not, I will definitely do an episode about like retirements, coaching changes, stuff like that in this season. And yeah, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Teen Talks Game Podcast. My name is Van Gogh. I hope you enjoyed me talking about lots and lots of thoughts on figure skating in life. Next week, maybe the Grand Prix, maybe about retirement and stuff. But I will see you nevertheless next week. Bye bye.